So, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the October 2024 Silver Lining Charity mid-month meeting. And this month, we're really delighted to be joined by Laura Barlow. She's a senior associate in the adult brain injury team of Bolt Burdon Kemp, and they are one of the Silver Lining Charity's fantastic affiliated solicitors. And Laura will be speaking today about the use of information and communication technology after brain injury. So, a very warm welcome, Laura.
Thanks very much. I've got some very basic slides. Most of it will be me talking, but I've got a few slides to just support what I'm saying. So I'll try and share my screen. Just need to find the right thing. Here we go. So like that. Let's see if that's come up properly. Does that look okay to everybody?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just also gonna, one thing, I just need to close my Outlook. There we go. So I wanted to talk a bit about advancements in technology and how they relate to brain injury. So it's a bit of a broad topic. So I thought, what are the things that might be of interest to you guys in terms of technology and brain injury? So what I thought I would. Can you see the proper slide show, or are you just seeing my? No. Okay, wait there. Let's see. There we go. Like that. That's it. So, I thought I'll break it down into three quite different areas. First thing I was going to talk about is technology that's already available and that is probably quite easily accessible, and things that some of you might already be using anyway. But I thought I would go through, and it might possibly have some sort of tips about, things that you might want to try that you haven't tried already. Secondly, thought I would talk about some of the advances in technology that are happening now or have recently happened that can assist in neurorehabilitation after a brain injury. And then the last thing, quite different, but also I think relevant, is a bit of a buzzword at the moment as well, is AI, and how that might be used in diagnosis, treatment, and recovery from brain injury. So the first bit, easily accessible technology that is available now, and some of it is very inexpensive and you might already have access to. So I'm sure most people nowadays have smartphones, and smartphones have a multitude of apps and utilities on there that you can use that might be of assistance when you're living with the effects of a brain injury. So they also just help anybody really, but if you're trying to stay organized and you're trying to deal with things for memory and organization to assist you, there are various different things that can help. So calendars, obviously, making appointments, setting alarms and reminders for various things. I think I have an iPhone, and I know obviously you have like Siri, which is the voice assistant on there, so you can say, hey Siri, can you remind me to phone so-and-so on Thursday afternoon, and then you'll get a reminder. It's just done. So when it pops into your head, you can just do it and set that reminder, rather than, oh, I need to remember that, and then forgetting to write it down, and then you don't have the reminder. I think there's the similar thing with like Alexa and Google. You can do those sort of voice automated reminders and things. Other things that people do sometimes with iPhones is if you've got significant memory problems, like taking photos of what you did throughout the day, and then if you get to the end of the day and you think, well, what did I do? Just have a look back at the photos to as a prompt of what happened during the day. And something that I think can be quite useful, especially with Apple products, that you can sort of link them all, so that if you lose one, you can find it from there's a Find Me app that you can use to help you locate things. So I'm always getting these reminders. It's not always because I've lost things, it's just because I've like left them in the office and gone out to lunch or something. It's like you've you've left your AirPods behind, and you just get a reminder, and it will show you where it was last seen. So things like that can be useful. Also, sort of being able to dictate things, notes apps. There's also on Apple, they have a journaling app, and I know that journaling can be quite useful for just keeping a daily record of what you've been doing, how you're feeling, and that app as well can send you a daily reminder at a specific time to say, have you journaled today? Now, do you want to make a note? Do you use that, Luke? Are you holding it up?
I've got on the app that we developed.
Yeah.
It's got strategies, notes, reminders.
Yeah, exactly.
Journals, trackers. So
all of this, yeah.
All those things in one location.
All really helpful, isn't it?
Confuse people, yeah. That's NewMind. That's the one that we developed.
Oh yeah, yeah. Brilliant. Thanks, Luke.
Yeah.
So all of those kind of things can just help keep things on track, and I find those kind of things useful just in daily life as well. If you're busy and you've got lots on, you need ways to stay organised, help prompt your memory about things that you might forget. Some people also use, and this is kind of not so much just for memory, but there are certain apps you can use for drawing. So that can be for rehabilitation, in terms of like the motor function of your hand, and like enjoyment, and also communication. If people are struggling to communicate with words, then drawing can be something that you can actually do on a tablet or an iPhone as well. So also other things that you can use very easily, and I'm sure a lot of you will be familiar with them, is things like the maps and Google Maps, and apps that you basically say where you want to get to, and it will just draw you a map and you can follow it. So helpful and easy. And linked to that, that can help people have more independence outside the home. So if if you want to get somewhere, you've just got that really easy route to follow. And if you've also got on a smartphone like a Find Me thing as well, so family members can actually see where your phone is at any given time, that can give you and them peace of mind that if you are in an unfamiliar area and you don't know where you are, that there's somebody who will be able to see where you are if you do get lost. There's also other things that you can use really easily, like I've got a picture there of a tile, which you can add, you can put on keys, you can put inside a wallet. These are also trackable things. So if you lose something, that can then be easily found.
I think it's called a key tag, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, there's key tags. There's also an Apple version as well.
I had it when it was called Tile, and I've got Tile in my wallet and stuff.
Yeah,
it was useful. It's run out of batteries now though, so
I know. Yeah. Well, do you know what my husband's boss put one inside his car, and when his car got stolen, and they managed to track his car. So not that that's really applicable to brain injury, but just they can be useful for finding lost or stolen items.
I think it's one of these ones. If you can see it.
I can't see who. I can only.
Mine's a Samsung one though, similar to your one. The Samsung.
Yeah. Oh, a Samsung one. Yeah. Exactly, something like that. So they're just really useful things that for just technology that can help avoid losing things.
What do you think of Apple Watch?
Oh yeah, so I've got that as well. So you may already, you might already know about these things, but do you know that Apple Watch has got the falls detection, automatic falls detection on it? So if you do fall, it will detect that, and then it can ask you. This is the picture here. It's like, looks like you've taken a fall. Basically, are you okay? Or if you don't confirm that, it can call the emergency services for you. So that helps in terms of safety. I actually got one of those for my dad recently because he's getting a bit old and he lives alone. So it's just one of those sort of personal safety things that you can use. It's quite an easy thing for safety.
I exercise a lot, so probably have me falling a lot. So
it
may not as useful for me.
I think if you say no, I'm okay, it's fine. It won't call emergency services.
Having to turn my watch all the time.
Yeah.
Hopefully I'm okay.
And then the last thing I was
I'm
Oh,
guessing
hello.
the one you got for your father is the SOS pendant, I'm guessing.
No, it's actually an Apple Watch. Yeah, you can
Alright.
use the Apple Watch for exactly the same thing. I know there are specific things, but yeah, my dad's got an Apple Watch now, so because he has had a couple of falls, and so if he does, and on the second occasion, unfortunately, he was on the floor for quite a long time, unable to contact anybody. So now we've got that sort of safeguard in place. The final thing I wanted to talk about in terms of things that are really readily available and quite easy now is smart home stuff. And I know you can't buy anything now without it having an app or some kind of smart feature on it. So, you know, things like thermostatic heating, being able to control lights, kitchen appliances. For security, you know, Ring is obviously very popular. Safety at home, like I said, with like the Apple Watch. And there are some things, you know, that are touch activated, but there are other things that you can be voice activated or just a wave motion. So that trying to make those things as accessible as possible. I mean, some of the downsides to these kind of things, like when they don't work, it can be really stressful and you just would rather do something manually. But quite a lot of the technology is pretty good. So, so I think hopefully there's some things, I know you probably will be familiar with a lot of that, but some things there that might be, you know, a useful reminder or something new. The next thing I wanted to talk about was about advances in neurorehabilitation. So, and how that relates to technology and neuro rehab. I mean, people are designing new things all the time. It's quite an exciting time. There's a lot going on. And I think from like the research that I did, a lot of the focus is actually on producing things that people can use in their own home as well. So you're not having to go to like a specific rehab center and use a giant piece of equipment, that there are things that people can do at home. So I'm not sure if this is in home yet, but one of the things that I thought was quite interesting was about virtual reality therapy. So there's a picture there of somebody wearing a headset. And so these virtual reality therapy devices use like computer generated environments. So you feel like you're in a real life scenario, and then it's prompting you to do either movements or some sort of cognitive activities to help with cognitive function, memory, could be to do with balance or mobility as well. So it's like training through this virtual reality experience. And there are a few things out there that I found that are specific sort of products that people have produced in the virtual reality market. One of them was called Mind Maze. And so that one was to do with movement, and there was another one called the Brain Recovery Zone, and that one was looking at managing fatigue, improving speech, and also working on emotions as well. So it seems like for the virtual reality side of things that it can be physical, but it can also be cognitive, it can be speech, it can be emotional well-being as well. So it's quite wide-ranging in terms of the applications for that. The picture on the left-hand side of the screen is a robotic device. So that is, another area of development is robotic rehab. And so the device that man is wearing is called Handy Rehab, and so it's a robotic glove, and that can help people to be retraining like movement in their fingers. It can separately, you can use the device to move each finger separately and to move the hand into different positions. And it's got, apparently this one has lots of different training modes, so you can do it, your hands obviously do lots of different things, and after a brain injury, or if it was a stroke, then you might need to train your hand to do a lot of different things that it can't do now, and it needs to relearn those movements. And some of that is active, but some of it can be passive as well. So that one is a hand example. They also, you know, there are things for wrist movement, there are things for arm movement. There is a cycle one for leg movement. So it's retraining your brain and promoting, you know, the new pathways in the brain to promote that movement. And the final, oh yeah, this, I think this, the one in the middle, that was the brain recovery zone. So this was like, it wasn't virtual reality, but this was immersive reality. So you're looking at a screen, and that one, I think you could control things with the movement of a hand. So, and then there are other things that I haven't got a picture of this, but I met a lady a few weeks ago at an event, and she had developed a product which is a wearable technology, and it's passive. So it stimulates, it sort of, I think it gets sort of like sewn into the clothes that you're wearing, or sewn into an item of clothing. And it delivers like impulses to the muscles. So it actually works the muscles, and you're passive, but it is still doing rehabilitation, even though you may not even be aware of it. So it's using those muscles, and it can help to obviously promote function in the area that it's working on. So those are some of the things. I mean, I could probably like find 20 other things to talk about, but these are just some of the things that I thought were quite interesting, particularly the virtual reality, because I think, I don't know, that seems quite interesting, and I think people might like that, and might be a good thing for the future.
Is that like a TENS machine?
The passive one, I don't think it is. It says it describes it as a bead. So I know what a TENS machine is. You have the pads, don't you? But this is actually a bead that delivers a pulse rather than a pad, which I think you have with a TENS machine.
Okay, so it's interesting there. Yeah.
Yeah, the lady that I met, I can tell you what it was called. I haven't got it written down here, but I can tell. I'll find it out just when I've got to the end of the slides, and I can tell you what her thing was called. And she was really nice. She's developed this thing, and she's trying to make it basically as cheap as possible, because she wants it to get to as many people as possible.
I'll put it in the chat.
Yeah, I will do. Yeah. And then, okay, the last little bit that I wanted to talk about, that yeah, again, very interesting. So everybody's heard of AI, and I think from things that I've listened to just generally about AI, some people predict that once it really gets going, the pace of it will be so incredible that we won't even be able to keep up or comprehend what's happening. So in terms of brain injury, there's two main areas that I wanted to just touch on. There's diagnosis of brain injury. So what experts predict is that AI, and they've already done studies on this, and I'll go through some of the results from those, will be really helpful in the future in diagnosing brain injuries. So that's through sort of advanced imaging and predicting, like using the data that it already has and learning from that, and then being able to diagnose. So some of the it obviously needs data to be able to learn, and so with AI, a lot of the success of it will come from the quality of the data and the engineering that starts the process. But for diagnosis, the studies that have taken place so far, so researchers basically trained a machine on some CT images. So they said, like, this one's got like a subarachnoid hemorrhage, this one has, and you know, they're learning all these images, and then they gave them some new images to try and diagnose what was on that image. And for mild traumatic brain injury, the AI machine that had been trained correctly diagnosed traumatic brain injury 92% of the time. For diffuse axonal injury, it was no, I haven't got the results for that one. But for TBI with midline shift, the machine was better than the neurosurgeons at diagnosis. So it just shows that there is real potential there for diagnosis to be assisted by AI. And if you think about an emergency like A&E, you've got an emergency setting, and sometimes somebody will have a CT scan and then they can't, they wait for somebody they need a neuroradiologist to look at that scan, to interpret what it means, to put that all to the clinicians and then decide on what to do. Well, if you could get a diagnosis straight away as soon as the scan is done, it could hopefully, really speed things up for people. And for things like a subarachnoid hemorrhage, where you've got an ongoing situation and there's a bigger volume of blood as time goes on, the quicker that people can get a diagnosis, the better it could be for them. So, so for diagnosis of brain injury, it's really interesting. And in terms of rehabilitation, the thought is that AI is going to have the ability to create personalized treatment plans for people. So data, it's a similar thing. You've got data, the machine learns, like, we've got all these previous cases and what their diagnosis was and what's effective in terms of rehabilitation and what's not. And then it can come up theoretically with a personalized treatment plan and then monitor recovery and then adapt the plan to achieve optimum recovery. So it's looking at the individual patient but comparing it to previous patients to work out what is likely to be best for that patient. I'm not sure if I've explained that particularly well, but it's again using large amounts of data to be able to predict what is likely to be the best treatment for that patient and what's likely to result in the best outcome. Again, the quality of the data that the machine is learning from is pretty important, because if that's good quality data, then hopefully the predictions will be good and then the outcomes will be good. The final thing that I wanted to talk about, and it's the picture in the bottom right hand corner relates to it. This is something that, kind of feels very futuristic, but it doesn't mean that it's not already being looked at and trialed, is brain-computer interfaces. So that's devices that allow people to control computers or other devices directly using their thoughts. And so those devices work by detecting the electrical signals produced by the brain, interpreting them as commands, and those have the potential to help people who've got brain injuries regain control of their bodies and communicate with others, even if you can't move or speak. So it's that accessibility and facilitating communication where it wouldn't otherwise be able to happen. And the research that I did said that AI is already being used to sort of improve the accuracy of the interpretation of the brain signals and the reliability of how that translates into a command. So through learning, and this is the whole thing with AI, that it keeps learning and it theoretically keeps getting better. So as the technology improves, what we hopefully can expect to see is that more advanced versions of this that can then be used to treat and rehabilitate people with a wide range of brain injuries. So that, it's quite exciting, but also a little bit daunting, I think, that, because it just seems so it's very futuristic in my opinion anyway. And also with things like that, with the brain computer interfaces, there are ethical questions, obviously. So one of the ethical questions is about cost, because these kind of things are going to be very, very expensive to start with, and then it's not going to be accessible to everybody, the same way it is with most things when they're new, but also the risk of exploitation. So you've got access to somebody's thoughts, there's data being kept on that. What if there's always stuff about data leaks at the moment, isn't there, and data breaches. If anybody's read 1984 and that whole kind of like being able to know what people's thoughts are and exploit that, basically, especially when you're working with people who are potentially already quite vulnerable. So there's lots of opportunity there, but there also has to be some sort of awareness of ethical considerations and potential risks around that. So that was so that was kind of 3 fairly different things, all to do with technology. So talked about the tech that's already readily available. I think you already know quite a lot about that. Advances in technology for neuro rehab, and then the introduction and growth of AI. So yeah, that was pretty much what I wanted to say. I don't know if that was helpful or useful at all, but happy to discuss and answer any questions. I might just turn off the slides if that's okay, so that I can see you all a bit better.
That's great. Thank you so much, Laura. Fantastic.
Yes.
I'll remove
you.
the spotlight, then we can
Thank
all
you.
see each other. Yeah, thank you. So thank you. That was really interesting. I learned a lot. Thank you.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Well, the AI stuff is a
my
little bit out
husband,
there.
we learnt a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
I've got one question, if that's okay,
Yeah.
Laura. So it's on behalf of one of the civil liners. Do you know of any technologies that will help with reading, writing after brain injury?
I haven't got a specific. I imagine there are apps that can help with that. I don't know of a specific one at the moment. But there was when I was preparing the first bit. Let me just check. There was some of the. I think there was a suggestion that just the journaling and there was an example of somebody who through journaling electronically had developed their ability to write clearly again. I guess that's just the practice effect, isn't it? That if you start doing it, then you should regain some ability. I don't know if there are specific apps or sort of equipment for reading and writing, but I can certainly have a look, and if I find anything, I can let you know.
Okay, sure, that'd be great. Thank you so much.
Can you just bear with a second? I'm just going to pass it to she's got a question.
Okay.
Okay. I was hoping I was hoping Ian would ask it for me.
Oh.
Yeah. So sorry, but he doesn't want to be proactive. Regarding Parkinson's. So unfortunately, Ian has a TBI, or had several years ago, and subsequently we think he's now developed the Parkinson's.
Yeah.
So that could be a bit of an issue with technology because of the shaking. Obviously everyone's different, but sometimes just sort of pressing the buttons on even on an iPad and what have you.
Yeah.
So I just wondered if there was any watches or whatever, if there's any technology that addresses that really.
Yeah, some of the things that because there was recognition of that, and I think some of the things it was saying, one of the things that what was it, which one was it, the brain recovery zone, that had a picture of it on the slide about the current sort of advancements in neuro rehab. I think that was using just a hand movement rather than having to use fine motor skills. So I think there are things available for a more simple movement, but also voice recognition as well. If using voice recognition might be a better option for some things, and using the like the Siri and the Alexa and the Google and things like that.
I used to work for a.
Thank you very much.
Sorry, Luke.
I used to work for a professor with Parkinson's, and he couldn't really speak very loud at all, but he used to go through his emails and write something with just his hand. One hand that moved. The technology gets used to the movements as little as they are to develop.
Let's say he had some things that helped with that as well.
Amazing. He was still better at writing, or quicker than writing long things than I was handwriting with just waving an arm around.
Okay. Thanks, Luke.
Hi, Tom.
There's hello. There was some computer reading, writing AI devices, programs I'd used in the past, which were helpful. One was called Dragon Naturally Speaking.
Okay.
I don't know what it's become now. Apparently, it's different companies take it on. And when I was
Thank
at
you. That's
secondary
my question.
school, so years and years ago, there was something called Read and Write Gold. I don't know if it's still around.
Okay.
Yeah, that's true. Rings a bell.
Read and Write Gold. Are those was the first one Dragon that you said?
Yes.
Yeah, because I've heard it, is that dictation? Because I've heard of Dragon
Yeah.
dictation before, yeah.
Yes, that's the one.
So we were just wondering, I'm Tom's mum.
Oh,
Hi.
hello.
Listening, because Tom needs to reload that program onto his computer because he's got a new one. We were wondering if there was anything else like that, but also if there is something that you can use to read text on the computer.
I think most computers have accessibility settings where you can actually just select text and it will read it. I think.
Okay.
Yeah,
accessibility settings.
Accessibility settings, yeah, because if it's a new computer,
yeah,
I think it almost certainly will have accessibility settings.
Okay, well that's
and I'm sure you can just select text and it can read it for you.
Okay. Well, that would be really helpful because then you can. And the other thing, finally, is, and this is slightly random, but it might apply to others. If we're watching films that are subtitled, Tom can't read the subtitles quickly enough, so we have to read them. And when it's a whole film or an episode or something, and there are a lot of them, I mean, we don't ever watch fully subtitled films because that's just too hard going. But in many day-to-day series, there's still subtitles, and it can get really tedious for Tom and tiring for us to have to, we miss them. And I appreciate that it's really difficult because if there's a program that reads what those subtitles are out in your language that you want, there's also the spoken word as well that they're speaking. So you've got two lots of, but I mean, we're in effect doing that when we're translating. But I just wondered if you could find out if there anything that could do that.
Yeah, so it
if Tom wanted to watch something himself that had subtitles in, and you do sometimes watch programs, and it takes you hours because you have to stop the television,
pausing all the time.
Pausing it, taking ages to read it, starting it again, and then if it's a whole bit with subtitles, it can take ages just to get through that bit because you're pausing. So I just wondered if I wondered if you knew. I mean, we could try and research or where.
I'm not sure if there's anything on that. Is that just like on the TV or on like Netflix or something like that?
Yeah, anything on screen online. Yeah.
Any sort of television streaming thing.
Yeah.
Actually, while we're talking, I was just thinking maybe the British Film Institute or an Institute of Television, one of their bodies might know about it.
Yeah.
Maybe
I'm not aware of anything. I don't know if anybody else knows.
On Strictly, they've been talking about descriptive, haven't they? Because around Chris Causland being blind, so there must be something on the BBC that does description type stuff.
You do sometimes see certain programs have like audio description, don't they? But then I think that's a specifically recorded program with audio. It's not just something that you can add on. That's also for visual impairment. Yeah, of course. Yeah. And you want the speech of another language. Yeah. Okay. No, it's a different thing, isn't it? But yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Laura. So I think Gopal, you've got your hand up. Go ahead.
So just to clarify on the back of that, there are like softwares, like I'm just gonna put in the thing, right? Which we're able to do the read to write software, as well as the Audible one as well. So if you guys wanted to research on these ones, then hopefully you might find it, because I know some people who are like can't read and some people who can't write, they've got softwares on the phones, softwares on the laptop, PCs. Which are able to, you can say what you want to say, the computer will write it, and then either some will even read it out to you as well, via the speakers as well, which probably would help probably with like visual impairments and people who can't read and stuff like that. There are softwares out there they can use to say what you want to say, and hopefully the computer will read out to you as well.
Thank you.
So there's some of them in the chat.
I just saw it pop up in the chat. Yeah.
Thanks, Gopal.
I was going to say, for those who know Sarah Chandler and her mum Paula, I can't remember which group they're in. I think they might be in the West Country
group.
Oxford group. Sarah has quite a severe result of her brain injury, and they use, I can't remember what it's called, but they use some special technique, computer-aided technique that uses, Sarah can use her eyes to
eye gaze.
Yeah.
Eye gaze.
There's eye gaze technology as well. Yeah.
You know about that, Laura? Right.
Yes. Yeah.
I just thought that was fascinating.
Talked about it today, but yeah, I've heard of it's you just using your eye movements, aren't you, to look at particular things, and then it can translate that into what you want to say.
And on the back of what Simon says, I know you could there's a visual keyboard you could put on your screen, right, with eye coordinates and eye movement. We'll be able to type the letters out on screen and probably read them out to you as well.
Oh wow, is that on an iPhone you can do that, or is
I don't know if it's
something specific?
You have to research it, but I know you can do it on a computer, on a laptop. Maybe not on iPhone, but on a computer and a laptop, definite.
Yeah.
So there are softwares like that, to help people with the eye coordinators to write out. Then obviously the computer could speak it by audio. Sorry, my cognitive is playing up. Sorry.
Oh, bless you. Okay,
sure.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, I guess that we can ask everyone what's their experience of using information technology. How does it help you?
So with me, Lorraine, I just basically either use the speak function on my Google app, right, to allow me to just type it out for me, or just use some kind of software, which is available on Play Store to download onto different versions, depending on what people have got, Apple or Android.
Definitely, thank you, Gopal.
My experience, for what it's worth, isn't so much AI. It's just using the existing technology, especially my iPhone. Yeah. So it's a memory aid. Obviously, if I use the diary, it'll prompt me to do things because I can put in my diary what I'm going to be doing, and then it'll tell me when to do it. But also, after I've done it, I can go back into the diary entry and write something about what I've done. So it becomes a sort of retrospective diary.
That's a smart way of learning.
Memory aid, should I say?
Yeah.
That was suggested to me in my rehab program, and that was really helpful.
They did the same suggestion to me. So
yeah, the problem is for me is remembering to actually write a summary afterwards of what I've just done.
Yeah.
But actually, Laura, you mentioned taking photos of what you're doing through the day. That's really helpful.
I saw that as a tip as well, that when you're doing something, to take a photo, and then at the end of the day, say you get your, like, if you have a prompt to do like your daily sort of journal or whatever, then you can look back at the photos and say, this is, remember that these are the 3 activities that I did today. I suppose you have to remember to take the photo, but maybe that's easier than remembering.
I think,
but if you get into the habit, again, I suppose if you just like tell yourself for a week that every time I do something, I'm going to take a photo, then maybe it will just become a habit, and then it's an easier thing to remember to do.
Yeah,
Laura, I think,
and then make sure you sign up for extra storage online.
Yes,
that's a good point.
Because your iPhone gets full very quickly.
Pay for your cloud storage,
Cloud storage, thank you.
Yeah, go ahead, Gopal.
Yeah, I was going to say, like it's easy to visualize than to memorize, right? So once you something realize, and obviously you remember that you've done that task, as well as completing the task as well.
Yeah, I think maybe just that even the act of taking the photo might help you remember something because you've done something to like almost like record a memory.
And record it somewhere.
Yeah.
That's the way you just the group of the list of exercises you could use to record it really look familiar.
It's like I'll give you an example like WhatsApp. If you speak into it, right, and then you record yourself speaking into it, and obviously you can recall it and replay it as well, as many times as you want.
Yeah.
Very good.
Thank you. I'm use it for sort of similar AI for sort of similar reasons. I like sort of talking to the microphone and then use it to type for typing text and writing it down on the page. I'm writing a book, so I find it quite useful for that.
So that begs a question for me, Tom. If you are proficient at using software to speak and it writes it for you, what about then editing the text? So if you're reading some text, is there software that's available where you can say, well, if that's wrong, you know, that there should be a comma after that word, or that's spelt wrong, that sort of thing?
Not that I've heard of, I'm afraid, Simon. I mean, I sort of have my mum's friend who used to be a professional editor helps me with that side of it, because the voice recognition I used in the past is like to confuse like little words his and is, and some of the more sophisticated vocabulary and stuff.
So actually Rebecca, my friend, comes and she reads through it with you and you go through it like that. So that was part of my question about something that reads the text for you. But I mean, she needs to be helping with the editing anyway. So, you know, she's doing both at the same time, but I will look into that suggestion, Laura, about the accessibility.
Yeah, there should be a whole thing for reading text. There's for like visual, for hearing. I think there should be an accessibility sort of like menu for things that you can change to.
Because that would be really, really helpful. Yeah.
You know, on the back of that, what Simon pulled up, I know when people are using dictaphones, right, for voice recording, they're speaking to the dictaphone and they say at the end of the sentence, put full stop and new sentence begin and that stuff. They do with that one. And obviously with software like that, if you read the screen and say, please delete the last sentence, please delete the last word, the computer will delete that as well.
Yeah, that's what a lot of the dictation things have. Like, there's a certain command for you to, like for a new paragraph, and
you're correct.
Although, I occasionally use dictation things for work, and it doesn't always work perfectly. But once you know the commands, it is better. But like you say, Tom, it doesn't always pick up the words correctly, and so you do have to go back and check them.
Yes. A bit more time consuming, but on the whole,
sure.
I use alarms and Google Maps because I don't have a sense of direction anymore. That's kind of gone. So if I go anywhere new, which doesn't happen very often either, or park somewhere a bit different, then I take a photo of where I've parked and what the local shops are or building.
And I think on Google Maps, Julie, you can set it up so that when the car stops, Maps will leave it. There'll be your parking symbol will show up on the map.
Interesting.
Yeah, my phone does that as well. You can find your car. It knows where you left your car.
And making sure you have your Google Maps set so that it's showing you the map as you're walking it, not the other way around, which is the first time I used it, which created havoc and took me an hour to find a car that should have been 10 minutes. So
You know,
yeah.
I want to bring up something on what the car situation is. There's something, I think either it's on the Google or on the Apple. There's something called a pin drop. Right, if you pin drop it, and then it probably pin drop it to your car's location, and probably the distance from where you walk into your car as well, which is known as a pin drop.
That's right, great, Carl. Thank you.
Yeah, all very interesting. Very interesting.
Going back to the journal app on the Apple devices, I've just had a look at mine, and you can do it with photos. Journal with photos.
Yeah, it's quite interactive. You can add files in, you can add photos.
Yeah.
That's what we put in Newmind as well, and it makes the journal's entry a lot more personal, and we find that people remember better if they with the picture as well.
Did you take that photograph?
Oh yeah,
brilliant. That was a trip to the Bez of Prey Centre.
Brilliant.
Did you take the picture, Luke?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And I held on the eagles.
Wow.
It was amazing.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
The eagles and owls were as fierce as they were beautiful.
Oh, very poetic.
Brilliant. Okay, so I think we'll say a massive thank you to Laura.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much,
Thank you all.
Laura.
It's been a really interesting discussion as well. So thank you.
Yeah.